earthquakes. So
Yeah.
we got some fabulous weather, on the coast of Southern California, but
True. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good to see you. Sort of. As much as we can see with all this.
Well, I think we have to leave these on.
Yeah, we have to do this.
and I'll probably have somebody down here, so spread everybody
I don't
out.
want the masked police to get me.
I know.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Dina, do you know who the VP is of the historical group?
I don't think we ever designated one. Do you have somebody designated as the vice, this,
Historical,
the
I don't have that with me, but I
the
think
co-chair or
Do what?
whatever?
She's moving to New Mexico.
Well, good for her.
I know.
No, I don't think
I've got a friend that's been living out in New Mexico and that's moving back here because it's always nice to go visit out there, but to live there full time and no friends around. You know, Ellen Colgan
No.
and
Maria is usually early.
Jeff Colgan.
So that was
I'm
kind
sorry,
of
it's not
concerning
Jeff,
to
it's
me.
Tim Colgan.
What's
He's
the
a
last name?
cardiologist.
Colton?
Colgan.
Oh, Colgan, no.
Maybe we should
Yeah.
try to call
They've been
just to
living out
see.
there for a while and talked to her the other day because I've done a bunch of stuff for her. We've done a bunch of house things together.
No, she doesn't.
And I was just calling to see how she was doing and she said, I'm moving back. I said, give me a
Wow.
call when you get back. I know that there's something that we got to redo.
Get ready.
month, and we are calling to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Historic Landmark Commission for the City of Beaumont. We will begin with our roll taking.
Chair Blazek,
Here.
Vice Chair Labiche,
Here.
Commissioner Bell. Here. Commissioner Broussard.
Here.
Commissioner Craig is absent. Commissioner Goodness.
Here.
Commissioner Holloman. Here. Commissioner Macon.
Here.
And Commissioners Segee and Templeton are absent.
All right. The first item on our agenda is the approval of last month's minutes. These were distributed in the packet from the city. Are there any additions or corrections to be made to those minutes as reported? If not, is there a motion to approve as written?
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the minutes are approved as written. We will now turn to the first item on our agenda.
The first item on the agenda is concerning the property at 2290 Liberty Avenue. Let me see if I can get this. I think I've got the right house. Yes. Good. Ms. Kaywood would like to replace the tile roof of her home located at 2290 Liberty Avenue. Plans are to replace the tiles with a silver gray high-definition architectural shingle, not unlike what we've allowed in the past. And they've stated that they will retain all of the ridge and decorative cornice pieces to place on top of the shingles. And you have a picture in front of you of the house. And the applicant is in the audience. The property is in spare. Any questions that you have?
No? Any questions? All right. Since the applicant has indicated their willingness to reserve and replace the cornice pieces, is there any need to question the applicant from anyone on the panel? All right, is there a motion?
Move for approval of CA 3225.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And there are none. Thank you so much.
Is there a document or something that we'll get for that?
I'll mail you a copy of the approved certificate of appropriateness. If you need it sooner than, say, a week or so, you can stop by the office and ask for me, and I can get you a copy of that. If you're trying to get a permit or something, you need it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And the next item on our agenda.
This is gonna be a world record for historic.
I think it's going to be.
Possibly. File 3231 is for the property located at 2443 Laurel Street. It's a small ranch-style home, and they're asking to replace the roof with a standing seam metal roof. In our research, in our book that we have, we can't find any pictures of a ranch-style home with a metal roof of that type. So based on that, primarily, we're recommending denial of the roof. When we did a search of metal roofing, there were a couple of examples that we found of ranch-style homes that had put metal roofs on them. So we've seen some examples, a couple, but not many, and not in any historic districts. Basically, I guess because this is located in our historic district, we felt like we needed to remain a little more, at least recommend remaining a little closer to what would have originally been on the house. The property is not located, it's not listed in spare. I included in your packet a copy of the information they listed to us. This is the profile that they asked for, and it's in your packet. That would be the ridge profile. And I thought we had marked it on here, but it doesn't really show up on this. Let me see. I'm sorry. Well, it doesn't look like it's marked. But,
The notes on the certificate of appropriateness say Tudor Brown.
okay, right. I knew they told me or something, that Tudor Brown is what it states. So it's this middle bottom color here. And you have a copy of that in your packet as well. Would you like me to pass this around?
Oh,
Okay,
I think everyone's got their color copy.
great. Are there any other questions you have of me? The applicant is in the audience.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am?
Why are they wanting to replace it with a metal roof rather than a composition? Because it's got a metal roof now? What's the difference? Is it metal roof?
There's no metal roof on it at this time.
Supposed to say it doesn't look metal from here.
It's not. But the applicant can maybe answer that question.
Okay.
He's here in the audience.
Any other questions for Adina? All right, thank you.
We don't have our cleaning person today, so I'll be the cleaning person. No, it's
I
okay.
could have done it.
No problem.
All right, if the applicant would step forward, and if we could have your name and address at the beginning of your comments, please.
So my name's Jose Moreno. I'm from 2443 Laurel Street.
Okay.
To answer the question, it's just something we thought about. We grew up in a home with it, and there's a lot of pros to it. The energy, for one, it's my home. It's an old home. I have very few insulation, which I'm still currently working on. As you can see, previous pictures, I don't know if y'all have them. I've been working on the home a lot lately. We're gonna get also somebody colored. It's gonna be like gray smoke, or the maroon or the brown. What the brown was it?
The brown's what was.
Okay. And two, because mainly it lasts longer. Like I said, I grew up in one. As a shingle roof, it lasts anywhere from 15 to 20 years before you have to do maintenance on it. Metal roof will last anywhere from 25 to 35 years. So it's self-sufficient, and as a shingle as well, it's a petroleum base. So going back to the insulation, it draws more heat. So and as opposed to the metal roof, it reflects the heat, and that's basically why we're leaning towards the metal roof. It's more like a opinion,
Personally.
right? It's just something we figured would look good with the house as we're remodeling it.
I can appreciate the desire to put a metal roof on the house, and I know that you could probably go to a number of other neighborhoods in Beaumont and see a similar style home with perhaps a metal roof on it. But we're in that house is in a historic district, and our commission is charged with trying to preserve as much as possible the historic context and features of the homes that are in that neighborhood. And I live in this neighborhood myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've driven through it many times. I can't think of any home in our neighborhood that has a metal roof, because when our homes were built in the 1910s through the 1950s, that wasn't a standard type roof that was put on these types of houses. I can understand your desire to want to get a metal roof for the insulation purposes and that kind of thing, but that's also something that can be corrected with a composition shingle roof, and that would be keeping with the overall aesthetic of the neighborhood. This is one of the newer homes in our neighborhood. It looks like it was built in maybe the 50s to 60s to me, but it would still be, when it was built in the 50s or 60s, it would have been built with a composition shingle roof. It wouldn't have been built necessarily with a metal roof. So personally, I think I'm going to be inclined to deny the request, but I'm sure there's other viewpoints on the commission.
I'd like to ask our resident architect what he thinks about this.
Don't see any metal roofs in the historic district. It's not a product that, like's been said before, it's not a product that was used during that time frame. I don't know how you get anything extra insulation value out of putting a dark brown roof on a house versus a black roof, unless you're adding insulation board to the roof deck before you put the metal roof on. In fact, I think that probably the metal is a worse heat sink than the asphalt shingles are. And you can get shingles that have a good reflectivity to them now. So going with a lighter colored shingle instead of a dark shingle would be to an advantage. I don't particularly like that profile of roof. You know, anything that would have been done prairie style or ranch style house back in the day would have been a copper standing seam roof. And it wouldn't have looked this wavy look like this roof. It would have had nice clean lines to that roof system. So I think I'm with the chairman on that. I don't think it's appropriate for this neighborhood.
Thank you, Don.
Any other comments or questions for our applicant?
Well, I do have a question, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we did just approve replacing a tile roof, which was probably more appropriate to the time period back then with an asphalt shingle roof. So I guess my question is, would you have an objection if the metal roof looked like asphalt shingles? Because they do make metal roofs that look like asphalt shingles, architectural shingles.
I mean, I wouldn't. There's a dozen of the products. There's plastic shingles that look like real slate shingles. There are now ceramic tile shingles. We've got a manufacturer just sent me those the other day. So there's a ton of different types of material that would look more appropriate for the time period than these metal panels.
And as far as the cement tile roof, this commission did fight long and hard to require people to replace an asphalt cement tile roof with a cement tile roof. And we kind of came up on Rita and Ike. And there was enough damage during those storms to those older roofs, and that material simply wasn't available. And there were insurance companies that were refusing to replace with like material. And I know Virginia and Ralph Jordan, for example, fought tooth and nail with their insurance company to make sure that they were able to go back with their cement tile roof because they were trying to get a historic landmark designation. But it was kind of a concession to the realities of that market, the amount of expense in replacing with cement tile, and also with just not having the materials available for people to be able to replace their roof in a timely manner. That concession was made, but
well, it
I would
helps to have the history behind what the thought process is.
yeah. So, but on this one, I think that's wonderful to learn that there are metal roofs that will look like shingle, and if it did look like a shingle roof, then as long as it maintains the same appearance, then I'm fine with accepting new materials and new technologies.
Yeah.
It's primarily maintaining that historically accurate appearance that we're looking for.
It's not so much the material, it's the appearance.
Where does, can I speak? where does the historic start right there on that road? Will it be 11th or will it be 7th or? Because there's another
Generally
reason.
speaking, our boundaries are from 11th Street to the railroad tracks, and then from I-10 to about, I guess it's South Street, or maybe 1 street south of South Street.
Okay, because another reason why we also brought up the aluminum metal roof was because there is a home closer to 11 that has a maroon metal roof. And that's the reason why I figured if they were allowed, we would talk to y'all about
It's
it.
the
We-
very last house that's not in the district. I know which one you're talking about, at 10th Street.
I don't
yeah.
believe so.
And that's, on that south part of the district, that is the line. It makes a corner right there at that
Right.
kind of, that house at one point was not included or something.
We have some carve-outs in our neighborhood, and it was primarily, and that one may have been one of those that had already been converted to a
I think
business.
it was.
And so a lot of the business owners elected not to be a part of the district, even though they
Okay.
were in what had one time been a residential
Right, because
home.
they are businesses. Yeah.
And so they chose not to be in the district from the beginning, and so our ordinances do not apply to them.
Okay.
In addition, Calder, both sides of Calder are not in our district. All of those businesses opted out of the historic district.
I have a question for the board.
Yes.
I guess in a similar situation, say that we allow them to replace a window with a vinyl window, even though it was a wooden window, as long as it has the same appearance. If they came in with some of these, and I've seen some of them, these metal panels that look just like they look like the architectural shingle slabs, pieces of roofing, very similar in appearance. If they brought that into the office and the color matched some more of our neutral colors, is that something that would need to come to the board, or are y'all okay with us approving it? I mean, if they brought in something green, or we'd probably bring some wild color, maybe we'd bring it to you, but I would think as long as it appears to be the same as that architectural shingle.
Personally, that's what I would think.
Because usually I think that's what we.
Plastic, they're ceramic tile now, and they're really pushing the ceramic tile ones now.
Mhm.
Like a 100 square feet of the ceramic tile is $350. That's pretty close, that's just material cost, but that's like close to the installation cost of asphalt shingles. So, some of the prices on some of those things are coming down, and they're beautiful. I mean, they look like real materials. You can't tell from the street.
And do they have a longer life, the ceramic?
Yep.
Is that one of the things they're
Oh, yeah.
pushing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, they're susceptible to hail damage.
Mhm.
We
And
are
probably
using-
limb damage too.
I do have a historic home in Port Arthur that we're getting ready to put a new roof on, that we're using the plastic shingles that look like slate, the little Stuckey house. It's right there by Lamar College, in Port Arthur. But, they're more expensive. They're just more expensive.
Don, just for, I don't know if it affects us or not, how much difference in cost is there between just a regular shingle and one of these plastics or whatever you're talking about? Is it twice the price or very close to the same price?
You're looking at, for asphalt shingles, somewhere $450 to $500. Now, we just had a storm, so, that fluctuates.
Yeah.
The plastic ones go up around $750 a square. A square is 100 square feet. So for 100 square feet, you go from about $450 to $750.
So a couple $100
Almost
difference.
twice.
And do we know the price differential with these metal 3-tab appearance roofing panels?
I have not used them
Okay.
lately, but they're going to be a little bit more expensive, and the real expense comes in from the installation,
Because
because they're slower. It's slower to put those things on. This kind of roof that we're considering right now, you buy those in lengths, and shoot, in half a day you can put cover that whole roof. In my opinion, it'll look like a barn. It's very tough. As always, it's in the detailing. It's how the edges are treated. It's how the gables are treated, with metal trim pieces. It's how the ridge is fitted with the metal trim pieces. That's what makes the look of that roof. You know, and this panel is a Morgan building roof panel. I mean, that's basically one of the panels that they use. They just overlap each other and screw exposed fasteners. And that's probably the biggest downfall of those panels is their exposed fasteners. So we're good for about a year, and then the metal starts to expand and contract, and then everywhere you have a hole, the water starts dripping in little dots, and you look at your ceiling, and all of a sudden you got these little wet dots on a regular pattern. You go, okay, I know where it's coming from. It's coming from those things. The concealed, you know, when we do a metal roof, we always do concealed fasteners, so that even if you do have that expansion and contraction and movement, and it does wallow out a little hole, it's not exposed.
All right. Are there any other comments or questions? Sir, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I do, but I don't know if it'll be for another meeting. I was gonna talk about, since we have a picture in the front, the brick wall that's halfway up to the house. Is that something I have to set up another meeting to talk about?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And it may be that you won't have to come to another meeting.
Right,
It
that's
depends
where-
on what
that's
you
where-
want to do.
Right,
Because as long as it's within the guidelines, Adina would be able to approve it without it coming to us.
okay.
All
That was
right.
it. That was-
Thank you.
Thank you. So my wife calls you later?
We're about to take a vote, and then you can call. Is there a motion on 2443 Laurel?
I'll recommend denial of the request.
I second that. All those in favor of denying the request say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Elena is still out on.
Maternity leave, yeah,
So I
okay.
don't have a report from her.
All right. Is there any other business that we need to discuss? All right. Do you know where we are as far as whether we have a full contingent of appointees for the board?
Do we have any vacant
I think we
positions?
don't have an attorney, is the only.
Well,
I mean, I can be that if I have to, but you're right. It was traditionally someone else that was that position.
and I never did get all of it was Demi, now Demi's gone. I never did get all of the, necessary.
CVs. Okay.
So,
All right. Because I just wasn't sure if one of the difficulties in getting a quorum today was because we still had some vacancies that we needed to ask council if they wouldn't mind appointing some
I think
folks.
we have enough, I think we have people, it was more or less making sure that the particular, nominations
Were there.
named and designated as the person that fills that slot,
Okay.
maybe, so we
All
might
right.
need to look at that and see.
Okay. If there is nothing else, then we are adjourned. Thank y'all all so much for coming. And thank you, Councilman, for, we appreciate your being here.
That's your, I got mine printed.
We were in Brenham this weekend, so I was just like flying back.
Did Jody have art show?
Oh my God.
No, we've built a little farmhouse out just north of Brenham near Gayville. And, it's become,
So you have a place to go in case the hurricane.
we do, and that's where we went. I took my 89-year-old mother with me. It was her first time out there. So she enjoyed it, except that we don't have a television. We said, well, we kind of know
Everything fell apart.
Thank you. I just came back. here a little earlier than I did this morning. I was just slow getting ready. And then I like to clean up before we walk back into a clean thing. And Joey
I've been to this meeting twice.
I have a breakfast already.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to see you.
But Joey go set up his easel outside and just paint away.
I don't think so. It's still too warm out there.
Have a good one. Good to see ya.
Okay.
I think I left a message on your machine at home, so just
Probably
ignore
so.
it.
I told you I'd be here earlier, I usually am. Didn't happen, I was just telling Nadina. I have not, this is the only meeting I've made since February. And I've got another one at 5:15 tonight, so I'm making up the whole time. Take care.
Everyone's trying to catch up. Taking care of business, I guess. Well, that was a record.
Right.
I messaged, Elena and Katrina about Virginia Jordan. Elena says, praise God. She has been a thorn in her side. That's for sure. I understand. Well, I dealt with her for many, many years before she got hold of her, so I understand. She's one of those people you learn to accommodate her, and as long as she feels accommodated,
Right.
or like you know,
Listened or, you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
then
acknowledge.
she's good. Acknowledge, you know, and actually kind of take a little action
Right.
based on what she's asking or wanting. She's good. If she feels like you're ignoring her,